What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thanks for joining us. So, today we want to talk about, guess what? The Indonesian sex ban. So, I really wanted to talk about this because it was really interesting. It was at first a shock when I heard it. But Indonesia government has pretty much passed legislation um, making it illegal to have relations outside of the institution of marriage. So as I looked into it, I thought this was really intense position of government intrusions on in people's life. Well, being an American, I come from a background that's a little bit more liberal in comparison to the Indonesian mindset. But as I looked further into it, I realized that what Indonesia necessarily did wasn't really revolutionary. So there are other countries that have took similar measures before Indonesia, such as Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Qatar, Iran, Sudan, Malaysia. As you can start to see, it's a very common theme amongst these countries. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that they're all primarily Islamic countries. Basically saying in these countries, and these laws pass, in some of these places, people still get stoned. Like that's really radical to my mindset. But in these places, Pew Research have done some surveys, and they've had over 90% approval rate of these policies. Basically, in these Islamic cultures in these countries, which leans Islamic but also lean conservative, they really value the institution of marriage. So crimes such as relations outside of marriage and adultery are seriously frowned upon in society. So I wanted to bring this to light for two reasons. One, the world is a beautiful and magnificent place. It is like a flame or a fire, right? It can give you warmth, enlightenment. It can make you a better person. It can improve your quality of life. But make sure you research and understand places that you go to before you travel there. To try to get up on some of the basics, day-to-day norms and customs to ensure that you're not making any decisions that's going to be against those or that could be severely punished. The second thing I want to talk about is there's a famous quote for, I believe, Sir Isaac Newton. I see far because I stand on the shoulders of giants. Human beings are a relatively finite being. Our evolution is quite slow. They say the same brain that crawled out the cave got us to the moon. So when we stand on the shoulders of giants, yes, we advance and we develop and we have faster technology. But because we're standing on the shoulders of these giants, we are also leaning on our ancestors for growth as we learn from their lessons and develop their thoughts and continue to implement a better lifestyle. But we also probably see the world from their angle or position. So, because for instance, me being a Western, so this why it was a little interesting to me because this concept was so different. Like some of the conversations that we have in America are far beyond that, and let alone the government's role in the household in this regard. But I will also contrast as to say we've also suffered um, a breakdown in the family in most Western countries. A lot of people like to hold up the Scandinavian model that lean that way, but Scandinavia really has a very high divorce rate or separation rate. So in America, it's over 40% divorce rate. These Western countries, some of them have over 40% divorce rates. So it really makes you question the breakdown of the family and to whose benefit is that? And is it a true detriment of having children and not having them raised in a house with more than one parent to help nurture and bring this person to fruition? It brings into question, can separated families be as effective or just as effective using the same resources as families that are cohesive, that stick together and pretty much taking a village to raise a child and coming from a single parent? is that necessarily going to be a bigger hill for you to climb because you have the less opportunities than someone who came from a family with two parents. And there are a lot of criminal studies around it as well that looks at the correlation between single parent homes and people that have engaged in criminal activity. So it's not necessarily a causation there as opposed to a possible correlation, but on one hand, you do have these conservative countries that are really taking serious the institute of marriage to enact laws about it, which may seem almost like quite daring to somebody of a Western society. But the breakdown of the home in Western society, or the breakdown of the traditional family of two parents and a child in the Western world, and the acceptance of divorce is also will probably be something that these countries find appalling. So it's really interesting this compare and contrast we have. Be careful where you travel. And like I said, it's just a really interesting topic. So the more you know, the farther you grow type of situation. But uh, I know that I've been to Bali. So Indonesia, that those for those that don't know, is probably the fourth largest populated country on the planet. It's the most populated Islamic country on the planet. It's about 280 million people. So when I went to Indonesia, I went to Bali. So this is also going to be very interesting because a lot of Australians go to Bali. That's a lot of Australians when I went there. But Bali is not Islamic. Bali is kind of part of Indonesia, but Indonesia is a vast archipelago with many diverse cultures, primarily Islamic, but Bali is Hindu. So it's always been a little difference of culture and understanding in Bali. But we'll see how this ban affects things such as travel, investments, and etc. And hey, it may not even have any effect. But it's interesting to see this come about. Very interesting. I wonder why they made this move now. It could just be a government seeking an easy win and buying into something that is culturally acceptable at this point. But we'll be on the lookout. So let us know your thoughts. Comment below. Please like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. I would really look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.